قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأصلي وأسلم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this live episode of Ask Zad, coming to you every Saturday between Maghrib and Isha here in Mecca region. Our first caller is Adrian from Siberia, from Serbia, that is.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Is it permissible to say please in dua in terms of begging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
This is not from the sunnah to say please, because your dua by praising Allah Azza wa Jal and glorifying Him and offering salutation upon the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam is the sunnah. Saying please or I beg you or do this, I insist on you, this is not from the sunnah. However, it is permissible to say please. What is not permissible to say if you wish. This is not permissible to be said in dua because it implies that as if someone is forcing Allah Azza wa Jal to do something that He doesn't want to do. So if you wish, you can forgive my sins, or if you wish, you can pay off my debt. If you don't, I'm fine with that. No, this is not permissible. The Prophet says, alayhi salatu wasalam, when someone asks Allah, he must affirm his request from Allah Azza wa Jal and not be hesitant saying, do this if you wish, forgive me if you will. No, he has to affirm it and be certain of Allah's accepting it, and Allah knows best. Fahim from Bangladesh.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, a by-born Muslim man who went through many counseling in last 1 decade, his problem is whenever he talks with a Muslim about Islam, he starts arguing like an anti-Islamic. But when he talks with an atheist or a follower of another religion, he defends the superiority of Islam. He doesn't know why his mind behaves this way. He always tries to ignore every negativity and ponder upon Allah, praise Allah, read about the last 10 messengers, yet he fails. Now he's really frustrated with himself as he doesn't know how to recover. So Sheikh, is he a kafir?
This is something that relates to conviction and belief. Now, I cannot assess this person until I speak with him. And if I speak with him and I discuss these issues, I can tell by the way he speaks to another Muslim whether he's a hypocrite, whether he's delusional, or whether he is only having whispers of shaitan about things that may fog his vision and he's unable to see clearly. So he may need counseling. He may need to ask himself whether he is a hypocrite or he doesn't believe in Islam wholeheartedly, or he does, but shaitan is trying to mess up with his head. And this is something I cannot tell until I speak to him personally, and Allah knows best. Mooney from Canada.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaykum.
There's a website I used to trust that said a person with OCD can take the easiest of the scholars' opinions in some things to help his OCD get better. So I used to have problems with how much water goes up my nose and stuff. So I used to take the nose, mouth, and ears as sunnah. So are my past prayers valid, especially that I used to pray as an imam?
First of all, it is not permissible for a layman like yourself to follow any random opinion on a website or an opinion said by a scholar or a da'i or a random person who speaks nicely. This is not permissible. Religion is not a game that we play with and simply I'll Google it. Or as they say, I'll consult and ask Sheikh Google. He will answer me. No, this is not valid anymore. Because this is religion, as Muhammad ibn Sirin said, may Allah have mercy on his soul. This knowledge, the knowledge of Sharia, of tafsir, of fiqh, of hadith, of aqidah, this knowledge is religion. So look who you're learning your religion from. It is not permissible just to randomly check the internet and whatever option or opinion that suits my whims and desires, and I find it more appealing than other opinions, I could just pick that up and implement it. No, this is invalid. From now on, you have to search for a trusted scholar whom you believe is to be knowledgeable, to be trustworthy, to be religiously practicing and committed, and you follow him in whatever he says. Whether you like it or you don't. You have to follow one specific individual who would be your guide to paradise and who would take off the heat from you on the day of judgment. Cherry picking and fatwa shopping like you're doing is not permissible, and it's totally out of the question. As for your prayers, your previous prayers, I hope that they are valid due to your ignorance and due to your lack of knowledge. Now that I've explained things for you, from now on you cannot adopt this opinion that says any easier option would do, because this is not how Islam is based, and Allah knows best. Dafi from Indonesia.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
So, Sheikh, I really love animals and I want to keep exotic species as my pets, for example, like tarantulas. So, the question is, are there animals that are prohibited to keep as pets? Jazakallah.
Wajazak. Basically, keeping pets in Islam is permissible. And the hadith of Anas ibn Malik in the Sahih, where he says, I had a young sibling who had a bird in a cage, and he used to take care of it until the bird died. So he was saddened and depressed, and the Prophet used to come and joyfully ask my younger brother, Ya Aba Umair, ماذا فعل النغير? Nicknaming him by Aba Umair and asking him about the small bird. What did the bird do? From this, the scholars stemmed that it is permissible to keep pets in the house as long as you provide for them and feed them. The exception would be in pets that we're not allowed to keep, such as mice. We're ordered to kill mice in Islam because they're harmful and bad. Snakes, scorpions, and the likes that are harmful. So I've seen people taking pets with snakes, anacondas, or a small python. I don't know if you can get a small python or not, but depends. Or a tarantula. I think it's called a tarantula. It's a big, hairy spider that is poisonous. Or scorpions and the likes. Some even may pet alligators. All of this is haram and prohibited. There are other exotic pets or animals or the likes that have no value. So basically speaking, if you pet a cat, this is permissible. If you pet a parrot, a bird, if you have a fish tank and you put exotic nice fish in it, there's no problem in that. And Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Salman from India.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, my question is that my masjid is very close to home.
I cannot
Sometimes
hear
I
you
miss
loud enough, Salman. If you can raise your voice, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, maybe it's a problem with the control room. If the brothers in the control room can raise the voice, I would appreciate that. Yes, Akhi.
Sheikh, my masjid is very close to my home. Sometimes I miss congregation for salah due to sleep or any other reason and reach masjid 10 or 20 minutes after the first salah is over. And sometimes I reach 2 to 3 hours later. So if I miss the first salah, do I need to go to masjid or I can pray at home? Jazakum Allahu khairan.
Wajazak. Akhi, if you reach the masjid 2-3 hours later, might as well pray dhuhr. What is this? No. If you miss Fajr prayer and by 5, 10, 15 minutes, and you know that if you go there, you'll be able to catch another congregation, inshallah, with other latecomers, yes, it is highly recommended that you go and pray in the masjid, because Allah would grant you the same reward as if you've prayed it with the first congregation. Your reason for skipping the congregation is legitimate. You overslept. And this excuse is valid with Allah. But not to go completely, it would not be the right thing to do. Now, 2-3 hours later, no, of course, the masjid is going to be closed. So you might as well pray home. T from the UK.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, around 8 or 9 years ago, when I was a kafir, alhamdulillah for being guided, I had a non-Muslim girlfriend, and I can't remember if I gave her a plain bracelet or a bracelet which things dangle off, which people don't signify that, like for example, hearts, they don't signify it with repelling like anything evil, or if I gave her a bracelet which had things dangling off that people associate with repelling evil, which is shirk. Sheikh, is this me overthinking, or because I can't remember, or should I investigate and see if I've given people gifts in the past which are not allowed, and then, you know, enjoying good and forbid evil? Because even a friend of mine, a guy friend who I don't speak to anymore, I gave him a watch. Can't remember if it was gold or silver, but the strap was burgundy. So is this just me overthinking, or should I go and investigate? Jazakallah khair.
Well, Jazak, this is you overthinking, in addition to Satan marinating these thoughts in your head to make a good meal out of it. Whatever you had done in the past as a Catholic or as a disbeliever or as a kafir has no impact on your life today. Being a revert, being a Muslim, erases all what you have done in the past. So this is a new chapter of your life. You should disregard any such thoughts, not think about it, and move on with your life. Sumayya from the UK.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalam tullah.
My question is, I've asked you earlier about a school being inside the same building as the masjid. I'm trying to be a Quran teacher, junior one. But in here, every madrasa is attached to a masjid. And sometimes there's like a classroom, just like a single classroom inside the whole building that's used for teaching. So can I go to that classroom only, you know, and teach when it's that time of the month?
I told you before, and I told others, that the default is whenever there's a masjid and there is a fence, walls of the masjid surrounding it, this is a place designated for ibadah, for prayer. And a menstruating woman must not enter the vicinity. However, sometimes the masjids may have other areas connected to it, known to the public that this is not part of the masjid, such as the house of the imam, the house of the mu'adhin. Sometimes it's on the top of the masjid, sometimes it's adjacent to it, sometimes it's a school, sometimes it's the management of the masjid, offices and the like. Sometimes these are shops rented to the public, grocery shop or whatever, and they utilize the rent to spend over the masjid. all of these places, though considered to be attached to the masjid, do not carry the same ruling of the masjid, and hence a woman in her menses could enter it without any problem, and Allah knows best. Abdul Rahman from the US.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, my question is, what is al-wala wal-bara in a concise manner, like just a general explanation?
In a concise manner, al-wala is to have the feeling of allegiance and belonging to Islam and to the Muslims, whether they're sinful or righteous. My allegiance is wholeheartedly given to the Muslim Ummah and to my religion, to Islam, regardless of nationality, of race, or of any other aspect. My first priority is to serve Allah Azza wa Jal and to serve Islam and the Muslims. This is al-wala. Al-bara is to disassociate myself with anything that is not associated with Islam. So I disassociate myself to disbelieving nations, to ideologies that don't relate to Islam, to sinful people committing sins that go against Sharia, whether they're Muslims or non-Muslims. So I could have both feelings of al-wala and al-bara to a specific individual. He's a Muslim, so he has my allegiance as a Muslim, but he's sinful. He's committing major sins, so he has my disloyalty as a sinful, openly sinful Muslim. I could love and hate the same individual, depending on the goodness and the badness in him. So this concept is mentioned clearly in the Quran, as in Surah Al-Mumtahina, when Allah Azza wa Jal tells us about our role model in Ibrahim and his people. And there are many, many places in the Quran and the Sunnah that state this, and Allah knows best. Najwa from the UK.
Assalamu alaikum.
Is
Is having burnt food, whether a little bit or a lot, haram? As I've heard that it causes some illnesses, but I'm not sure if that's true.
I don't know about this because you have to ask a medical doctor. However, who in his right mind would eat burnt food other than a poor husband who's afraid of his wife's backlash and nagging him? So something that is defected and burnt and not fit for human consumption, in general cases, nobody would eat that and would throw it in the dustbin. Now, whether it causes harm or not, this is something you have to relate to medical doctors. If they say that such burnt food would cause cancer and it's harmful, then it becomes haram. Mil from Germany.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
So my question is, I had my period and then without seeing any purity, it continued with the brown discharge. And one evening, very late, around 11:30, I wiped it and it was clean, but there was no real discharge to be seen, but rather a transparent secretion. I took ghusl quickly and prayed. So 4 hours later, I got up and checked again, and it was dry, but I didn't insert a tampon. I went back to sleep, and when I woke up, the brown discharge came again. I don't know if I was allowed to pray or not. And last night it happened again, dryness for a few hours and then blood again.
I said this before. Why you guys are asking me the same question again? We've stated this so many times. Mother Aisha told us that a woman's purity, as per the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, is identified by seeing the white thread-like discharge. So when a woman, after her menses, after her period is over, and she wipes, she finds the trace of a white thread-like discharge without any colored discharge accompanying it. No redness, no brownish, no yellowish. This is a clear sign of purity. Make ghusl and pray. And whatever comes afterwards, ignore it, as this is considered to be a najis. You just purify yourself by cleaning yourself and making wudu and pray. If a woman ends her period but does not see this white thread discharge, like wiping is not sufficient, because this is not an indication of seeing your purity. A tampon should be inserted. If the tampon comes out clean, this is a sign of her purity. She should perform ghusl, pray, and if the brownish discharge comes afterwards, she should ignore it. Whenever the time of prayer is due, she should clean herself, perform wudu, and pray, and Allah knows best. Anas from Canada. Anas.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Alaykum assalam wa barakatuh.
So it's about Eid Salah. So when I prayed in Eid with one of the masjids and with one of the imams, the way he prayed Eid is that he gave the khutbah before the Salat Eid, and the way he prayed the Eid is that he started by Takbiratul Ihram, 3 takbirat, and then and then Fatiha and a portion of the Quran, and then with ruku' and sujood, and then for the second rak'ah, he went right away to Fatiha, then a portion of the Quran, then 3 takbirs, then the takbir of intiqal for ruku' and finish the rest of the prayer. Is the prayer valid?
The prayer is valid. The format is totally wrong. In Eid prayer, the prayer has to be first. Then it is followed by the khutbah. Whether it's 1 or 2 is an issue of dispute. I personally am inclined to say it's only 1 khutbah, because the Prophet prayed it in the musalla alayhi salatu wasalam, in the open area, and it was never reported that they got the pulpit for him to sit between the 2 khutbahs. So it's only 1. Secondly, the most authentic opinion is that there should be 7 takbirs in the beginning of the first rak'ah after takbiratul ihram. So you do takbiratul ihram, then you do du'a ul-istiftah, then you say the 7 takbirs, then you say a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim, you recite the Fatiha and the Quran. In the second rak'ah, after you say Allahu Akbar and rise from sujood, you say 5 takbirs as per the hadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Some schools of thought say, no, takbiratul ihram is 1, and then you do 6 takbirs afterwards. And for the second rak'ah, as I've described. Others may decrease and say 5, may say 3, may say this and that. Either way, alhamdulillah, the takbir as a whole is a sunnah. So if you drop it altogether, the prayer is valid without any problem, inshallah. We have a short break. Stay tuned, and inshallah, we'll be right back.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I'm going to talk about the book Interactions of the Greatest Leader. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam reminded us through his guidance and example that Islam is complete submission to the will of Allah. For one who submits, a mere declaration or display of belief will not be taken for success, but his or her heart and soul will certainly be put to test. Allah tested the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam severely in order that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam becomes an example for his companions to follow. Similarly, he tests the believer to see whether he lives a righteous life in accordance with the instructions and commands set by Allah, or lives according to what his desires dictate. Whether the faith he displays is firmly rooted in his heart, or is it merely on the surface. He will be tested to see whether he will continue to have faith and love of Allah when in a calamity, as he does when in comfort, whether he will continue to remember and worship him if given bounties and comforts of life as he does when he lives a modest life, Allah will undoubtedly test him to see if his faith, trust and love of him is unconditional, or is it conditioned upon good health and a comfortable life, free from stress and anxiety. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed us through his own example that for a righteous Muslim, this life is a testing ground where he will continue to be tested until he meets Allah. For him, tests will be conducted on earth while he lives, and not after he dies. He knows that as soon as death arrives and he steps into the next world, his tests are over. There, he only receives the result of his tests and enjoys the fruits of the deeds that he committed during a short span of time called life.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah and welcome back. Brother Sadman from Bangladesh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, my question is, for how long should we move our index finger during the tashahhud and the last sitting of our prayer? Jazakallah khair.
Wa jazakum. We said that before, and you have to keep on wiggling your index finger when you sit for tashahhud and for the last sitting of the salat, like this, shaking it in its place, not up and down, not rotating like some people do, just rather point and just wiggle it in its place as if it's shivering or shaking from the beginning till the end. And this is done because it harms shaitan and it tortures shaitan, and you move it while making dua. Tahiyyatu lillahi wa salawatu wa tayyibat. Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabi, or assalamu ala nabi wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, till the end. Once you finish dua, you don't have anything to do, you just put it down, and Allah knows best. Abdul Aziz from Sri Lanka.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salamtullah.
How are you, Sheikh?
Alhamdulillah.
Oh, okay. Sheikh, my question is, there is a dua to recite in sujood. I think it's Allahumma ghfirli dhambi kulla dikkahu wa jilla wa awwalahu wa akhira wa alaniyatahu wa sirra. So this dua, can I recite it throughout the day like a form of zikr?
Yes. Yes, the answer is yes. This is one of the authentic du'as that the Prophet used to say, alayhi salatu wasalam. So whether you say it in sujood, whether you say it before concluding your salat with salam, whether you say it in the last third of the night, whether you say it between adhan and iqamah, whether you say it throughout the whole day, this is a beautiful dua that you should say and continue to say. Maryam from Canada.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalam wa rahmatullah.
If my uncle comes over to my house and my mother and him, they like free mix, I just, and they're in the living room and I sit upstairs in my room, but they're like all alone, but I can still like hear them, like their conversations. So like, what should I do in that situation? Jazakallah.
Wa jazakum. Now I'm assuming that this is your mother's house. Is it correct? Maryam? Okay, maybe you've lost Maryam.
Yes. Yeah, it's my mom's house.
So it's your mom's house. You have no control on who comes in and who does not. Therefore, you have one of two choices. Either to go to your room and let them be to their seclusion to say and do whatever they want, or to be with them to break the seclusion and to minimize the sin and the haram. And I would highly recommend the latter, because this would prevent your mom from falling into sin without knowing or with knowing, and Allah knows best. Ahmed from UK.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum salam.
So Sheikh, I have a question that is it halal to trade forex like gold and other currencies using swap-free funded accounts? So funded account is a fund account which you pay like $60 or more, and they give you a kind of exam that if you pass, they will give you the account, which can be $5,000 up to 100K, depending on the amount you pay. And that funded account have automatic leverage, but it doesn't take any interest from the leverage. It just takes a fee or commission, but no interest. So the only time you pay is the $50, and then after you pass and start trading gold or anything else, the money that you trade with is not like your money. So when you start placing a trade, and then if you win the trade, you will take like 80% of the money, and they will take the 20%. So was it halal to trade gold or other currencies with funded accounts? If not, what is the halal way? Because nowadays we can buy 3,000 gold worth of gold and bring it home and sell it when it's up. Jazakallah khairan.
Wajazak. This is 110% haram. It is totally prohibited to deal with such leverage because this is all riba based. And they are giving you a bait so that you would trade with. So if you put $1,000 to trade with, they will give you another $9,000 from their own. So this is 10,000 you can trade with. The moment the amount goes below 9,000, let's say 400, they will block your account, take their 9,000 with share capital, and 400 from you they will take as profit. So this is total gambling and riba-based loan and haram. And every kind of trade on Forex is not something that's tangible that you have certificates on. It's only digits on a monitor. So it's all a hoax, and it's not permissible for you to buy. If you wish, you can buy a gold bar, 20 grams, 50 grams, 100 grams, and keep it in a safe place in your house. And the moment the gold goes up, sell it and cash the money if you wish. Ayman from the US.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, can you hear me clearly?
I answered your question and your salam.
Oh, okay. So my question is that there's someone that I know who has a very big problem, which is that every time the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned, his mind tries to picture Allah, and it seems like he can't control these thoughts. But he knows that whatever he visualizes is not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot be comprehended by anyone. And he says that every time his mind tries to picture Allah, he says subhanallah, and he seeks refuge with Allah from shaitan. But he says that it doesn't seem to be working because it keeps coming over and over. And not only that, that's very frequently. So what should I advise this person? Barakallahu fi.
Ufiq, barakallah. I would highly recommend that he takes a counseling session with me if he can afford it. And if he cannot afford it, you know that we give one session only for free for those who are poor and they make Allah their witness and judge that they cannot afford it. Now, this friend of yours has no choice. Either he stops these whispers or he goes with it and believes it. If it's the latter, if he believes that these images are of Allah Azza wa Jal and he concedes to these whispers, he's a kafir. He's a full-fledged hypocrite, reserved his seat in hellfire for eternity. No going out. And if he blocks it and he acknowledges that, yeah, this is shaitan. What does shaitan want from you? To throw you in hell. What are you going to do? I'm going to go with them to hell. Then be my guest. No, I'm going to block this. I'm going to fight it. I'm not going to listen to him. This is how you win. And Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Ayan from Bangladesh.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalam tullah.
So, Sheikh, let me just give a bit of a background before my question. So what happened
I
was
hope
that,
it doesn't exceed more than 40 seconds.
I'll try to make it as quick as possible. So what happened was that I did learn about backbiting and slandering, but it was, I think, a few years ago that I was doing certain actions. But I didn't realize that this was backbiting and slandering. For example, I was laughing about my teacher, but I did not feel a single bit of remorse because I did not realize this was wrong. And it was, I think, after 2 years or 3 years, 2 years, that I realized this was wrong, that this was backbiting. But unfortunately, I had forgotten. about the ruling that this was backbiting. So am I still sinful? Because I did not realize that this was a sin. If I did, I would have perhaps refrained from it. Thank you.
Allah Azza wa Jal says in the last ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah, رَبَّنَا لَا تُؤَاخِذْنَا إِن نَسِينَا أَوْ أَخْطَأْنَا. Oh Allah, do not hold us accountable if we were to err, to make a mistake, or if we were to forget. What you've done in the past was a mistake. What you're doing at the moment is an act of forgetfulness because you forgot. In both cases, Allah says in response to our dua, I shall do so. And this is in Sahih al-Imam Muslim. I shall do so. I will not hold you accountable for whatever mistakes you had done or acts of forgetfulness that you've committed. So embrace it, that Allah is most forgiving, most merciful, most compassionate, the one who guides us to repentance and accepts it from us, and you will be saved with the grace of Allah. Mustafa from the UK.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Shaykh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, so Sheikh, whenever I've shared something Islamic with others, I've generally received a negative response. And sometimes things have been really ridiculous. I mean, I can provide an example, but I know we have limited time, so only if you ask me to. But really, I get reactions like, I've gone crazy, I've become a mullah, and no one should listen to me. So I saw a few of your videos, and from now onwards, I'm thinking that I'm just going to ignore such ignorant people and only speak to them about Islamic topics if they're genuinely interested, because otherwise I'm just going to be wasting my time. And even if they do ask me about something and I know the answer, I'm not going to reply because based on past experience, they're perhaps, just looking for a silly argument and not to seek the truth. So if I do the Sheikh, not reply while fully knowing the answer, would this be considered a form of concealing knowledge, which is a major thing?
The answer is no. When you know that someone is pulling your legs, he's asking just to make fun or to make you answer and then make fun of religion or of your answer, then yes, turn the table on their heads and make fun of them. And don't give them an answer, and this is not concealing knowledge. Those who are genuine and want to learn, yes, you can answer them without any problem. Hina from India.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalam wa rahmatullah.
So I want to know that who is responsible to give allowances to a divorced woman?
Who is supposed to give what?
Allowances.
Where is she living?
Expenses.
Where is she living? Is she living with her father, with her brother, with her sons?
In her husband's house, in her husband's house, but separately.
Now he divorced her. So what is the relationship between him and her?
Nothing. But her father said that die and never come back home. And her brother said that I can keep you, but my wife will have problems with you. So she's living in her, means my mother. She's living in her house, but we live downstairs and our father lives upstairs.
And does she have an income?
No, she doesn't work, but
Alhamdulillah, as long as she is not communicating with her ex-husband, and he has provided her with a separate accommodation, may Allah reward him for this kindness, then he's not obliged to give her a single red penny. This is a responsibility of her own children. So if he has children and they can provide for her food and pay the utility bills, then they must. If she has savings, then she must provide for herself. Even if her children can, they're not obliged as long as she's rich and capable. But if she doesn't have an income, she doesn't have any wealth, then it's the responsibility of her children. And this is mandated by Sharia because they will inherit her if she were to die, and Allah knows best. Nazli from Azerbaijan. Nazli?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa
Sheikh, a person believes in a judgment date, that Allah will gather all people and etc. But what worries him is that sometimes when he thinks about it, he's surprised and seems to say to himself, how can it be, and etc. What can you say about that?
This is shaitan messing up with his head. A real believer doesn't have such whispers, and if he has it, he shrugs his shoulder and brush it off and move on. He moves on. These whispers are from shaitan. It is part of the 6 pillars of Iman. To believe in Allah, to believe in the Day of Judgment, to believe in the angels, to believe in the messengers, to believe in the holy books and scriptures, and to believe in Al-Qadr, the divine decree, whether good or bad. These are 6 pillars of Iman. If one of them is not intact and fulfilled, a person is a full-fledged kafir. He will go to hell for eternity. So these whispers that jump and attack you, these are from shaitan. If you don't speak about them and you don't act upon them, meaning that you block them and you try to ignore them, they will not harm you at all. Mackenzie from the US. Mackenzie.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
So when I was doing wudu, wiping my ears, I noticed that a tiny bit of buildup from my ears had collected underneath my fingernail. It may have been dead skin cells or soap residue, I don't really know. But I was in the bathroom for a long time trying to get it all out, but it seemed impossible because it just kept coming off. And I don't know if I got it out 100%, but I gave up because my ears became sore and scratched up from trying to get it all off. And I wouldn't say it was a thick layer because only a tiny amount would come up at a time. And I don't know or think that you could really see if you were to look at my ear, but I'm concerned about the validity of my previous whistles and wudus because I know it had to have been there for some time. So does this substance count as a barrier in purification?
No, does not. And you're sinful for spending so much time doing all of that. All what you needed to do was to just wipe over whatever there was and move on. Doing this excessively is answering the calls of shaitan, and this is not permissible. Abdurrahman from Jordan. Abdurrahman. Danielle from Norway.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
Allah bless you and your family, Sheikh.
And you as well.
I had a question regarding the Friday prayer. For me, the masjid is, half-hour walk. And I remember in one of your other fatwas, if it's a half hour, if it's that distance, you don't need to, it's not obligated to go there. And with the Friday prayer, I wondered if it takes the same ruling or if it's a bit different.
No, it's different. It is different. The half an hour ruling is for the 5 daily prayers. As for Friday prayer, even if it's an hour drive, you have to go there. Whenever you're in a city, residing in it, if the closest masjid is an hour walk, you have to go there because this is Jumu'ah. This is once in a week. There's no excuse for you for skipping it. Milan from Canada.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Assalamu alaikum.
So basically, for many months now, I've been suffering from whispers from of the shaitan, and basically, I've grown this problem where I start whenever I get these whispers, which are usually about kafir matters and stuff, I usually overthink them, and yeah, so I usually overthink them, and I feel like I believed them when I didn't, And whenever I try to ignore these whispers, I still continue to overthink them. So how would I? So the main question I had about this was, how would I like block these whispers out?
Okay, you have to book a counseling session with me if you can afford it, and if you can't, and you hadn't had any free session before with me, you're entitled for one, providing that you are poor and needy and can't afford it. These whispers are the easiest thing to solve, but I have to do this one-to-one with you, inshallah. Each person's demons are different from others, and the way to open your eyes is very simple and quick. You only need one session for that, inshallah. Muhammad from Canada.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamu.
So, Sheikh, my question is similar to one of the previous callers. So, ever since I was a kid, I heard that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Noor. So, whenever I try to pray or do anything, there is this image of Noor that comes to my mind that I know that that is not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it just steps to my mind. And even if I'm trying to pray, it's just there. So, am I sinful for that? What am I supposed to do in this situation?
Muhammad, is it getting you closer to Allah when you think like that?
No, Sheikh.
Then this is shaitan. So what do you expect shaitan to do? He will infuse this feeling, he will exaggerate it, he will inflate it until it destroys your whole Islam. And you will find that skipping Islam is the easiest thing to do. And this is what shaitan wants. So ignore it, block it, and move on with your life. Diyar from Kosovo. Diyar.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum salam.
So, Sheikh, last night I had to do ghusl, and when I finished, you know, these whispers, thought came that under the chin, I didn't run my fingers through my beard as I should have. And as much as I remember, I really did run my fingers like 2-3 times. I didn't know if that was enough, so I'm still fighting to not repeat anything. So I wanted to ask you what to do.
You're crazy. Diyar, with all due respect, don't get angry with me. You're crazy. You're nuts. You remember doing it 3-4 times. What more do you want, Yani, to bring the fire department to wash it for you? Move on, akhi. Any doubt you get after finishing your ibadah, after finishing your ghusl, you're doubtful that, ignore it. If the doubt came while doing ghusl, yes, I would say repeat that area. But it came after you finished. So throw it in the dustbin in a 3-pointer and move on without even looking back. Abid from the UK.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Samtullah.
So I have a question. Some of my friends on social media like posts, but it contains kufr. Like, I mean, sometimes the guy might say the F word with Allah, I guess, and but I know my friends didn't like it for that purpose. They liked it for other purposes. So do I like tell them not to like such stuff, or do I just move on?
No, you have to remind them of Allah Azza wa Jal and explain to them the gravity of liking such posts that include kufr or mocking the religion or praising anything that Allah Azza wa Jal hates, because this is part of our duty as Muslims. Now, I would highly recommend that you yourself unfollow these posts or these folks or these websites that post such filthy and inappropriate things to begin with, just to set a role model for others, and Allah knows best. Ahmed from the US.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh.
Alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, if we reside in a non-Muslim country, is it permissible to travel to other non-Muslim countries specifically for the purpose of looking at different natural reserves or different parts of nature that just so happen to be located there?
As long as you live in a non-Muslim country and you go to another non-Muslim country where there is no fitna, there is no haram, there is no exposure to sins on you more than what is in your normal place of residence, there's no problem in that, inshallah. Madani from Saudi.
Sheikh, I had a question about, gas incontinence. If a person is praying and, sometimes when I'm making wudu, I bend down to wash my feet and because of that, gas passes. So I have gas incontinence. So is it included in this?
Are you certain?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Is it continuous or will there be some times that it will stop?
It will stop, but I don't know when.
Then if you wait for another half an hour?
No, Sheikh, I exactly don't know when it stops.
If this is the case, if you don't know when it will stop at all, and you have no reason to think that it will stop any soon, and if you've tried it many times to wait until the end of time, hoping that it will stop and it doesn't stop, then this is continuous. You make your wudu, and even if you pass wind, continue with your wudu without interrupting it. Ahmed from the Maldives. Ahmed.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum. Sheikh, my question is, actually I am suffering from urine incontinence. Then my question is my wudu valid if I don't pray right after making wudu? For example, can I make wudu while taking shower and then pray? Or can I do some tasks between wudu and pray?
Ahmed, is your urine incontinence continuous? Doesn't stop at all?
It is always continuous.
Okay, who in his right mind will make wudu and then take a shower? Please, give me a break. If you have urine incontinence, you will take a shower, clean yourself, make wudu, and if urine comes out while making wudu or afterwards, your wudu is totally valid because your urine incontinence is continuous. So from the beginning of the time of, let's say, Asr, until the sunset of the day, until Adhan al-Maghrib, if you perform wudu, even if you do not pray immediately afterwards, even if you pray after half an hour, it doesn't matter because urine is incontinence is coming out throughout the whole time. Your wudu is still valid and Allah knows best. Ubada from Syria.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
Just a quick heads up, I'm not an air conditioner, I'm a nuclear reactor cooling tower.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. May Allah increase you. Without any explosions or radiations.
No, don't.
What's your question?
So the question is, so I used to be an idiot who watches cartoons and anime before. Now I stopped. The problem is, it's like a drug to me right now. I used to imagine stories of what I used to watch in my head as fan fiction, you could say. I want to stop it. It's like OCD. It comes, yet it's like drugs. The person enjoys it. I don't want it, yet my mind wants it. And sometimes it contains magic, kufr, not kufr, no, just magic and stuff like that.
Are you watching it or you stopped?
No, I stopped.
But as long as you have stopped, because I'm sorry, the time of the episode is over. As long as you've stopped, you will need maybe a few years, maybe more, for your brain and your body to detox. And these images will come and jump on you, even in your salat, even when you're going to bed, fantasizing, thinking. This is your test from Allah. You have to remain steadfast and not go back to watching them, and ask Allah for forgiveness whenever you recall or remember them, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. This is all the time we have for today's or tonight's episode. Until we meet you tomorrow, Sunday at 4 o'clock, I leave you في أمان الله والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين.